Alaska is known for a lot of things, one of which is the iconic Alaskan traits of resourcefulness and innovation. Sometimes you have to make do with what you have to solve a problem. And who knows, in the process, you might just shape an entire industry.
I don't consider myself the inventor of these things. I consider myself just kind of an innovator and a developer, and helped it along quite a bit, I think, and kind of showed what they could do. In Alaska, of course, we have a pretty short, if you just ride in the summertime, there's a pretty short season up here. And with the fatter wheels now, I mean, you can take advantage of all the winter trails that we have where we've got thousands of miles of trails up here in the valley that you can't ride in the summer because they're basically swamps. So you can access those in the summer, in the wintertime now, and you can ride up to the Knik Glacier. You can ride out the Iditarod Trail. I mean, there's so many places that you can access with fat bikes, and it just it's a whole new venue for winter sports. Started messing around with bikes, so I got my first mountain bike, a Specialized stump jumper, back in '83. And there was really nothing you could do with them then other than just putting some screws in the tires so you could ride all winter on. But I did that, and when the lakes get frozen around here and it's good ice, it's a lot of fun. So it gave another avenue. In about the mid-'90s, I got another bike, a little more modern one, that you could take wider tires. And about that time, Simon Rackhauer up from Fairbanks with All Weather Sports came out with what they call a snowcat rim, which is basically just two mountain bike rims started just being welded together, and then he had them manufactured. So you could run pretty fat tires on your regular mountain bike. So I started doing that, and I realized, kind of fat is where it's at because, just that little bit of extra width and volume of your tire allowed you to run lower pressure and not sink in as much. Started thinking that we needed something different. About then I opened my bike shop in Palmer, Wildfire Designs Bicycles. That was in '99. And went to the Interbike trade show in Las Vegas, and I met Ray Molina, who had a company called Remolino Adventure Works, and he had some prototype fat bikes. He called them sand bikes down there, that he was having the rims specially made in Mexico, and these tires. They were really low profile tires, but they were fat.
We're always trying to do something, sewing up clothes, putting something else together. We think more outside of the box. We're still, as you could tell, this whole thing was invented like this. Even Ray came up here and was doing the races, Ray Molina, saying, you guys are working it out. But he perfected, he got the wheels, he got he went over to Mexico. He got a guy saying, "Oh, you crazy gringo, you want what?" And it's like, he's like, "I need this." And he sat there for literally several months, sitting there, nope, that's not right. And he got these things built. And that is the big thing that changed everything. Because us in Alaska are just trying to modify what we could.
So this is the first, I'd say this is sort of my first fat bike. I mean, absolutely. This was, it started off with the Snowcats. When I got back from Iditarod '96, I just kind of went crazy making different tires. I just started making different widths. So I had my fat tires, but it was the same situation. I needed a fatter rim to make the tires work right. A friend of mine by the name of Juan Pena from Juarez, fellow mountain biker, introduced me to a friend of his who was a mountain biker from Mexico City, and that was Carlo Vecchi. And he had friends at Tornell, and his uncle had the Velox of Mexico. He made all kinds of road bike and mountain bike rims, and he would roll them there at Velox. And once I met Carlo, Juan and I threw all these pieces in the back of my little Toyota truck, and we headed down to Mexico City with the early prototypes. It was that year in '99 that I met Mark Gronwald and John Evingsing, and they were buying rims and tires from me. They really liked the rims. They were building up some bikes. Mark Gronwald was lacing up some nice wheels, and he was making fat bikes. I feel like a lot of the early prototype work, a great majority of it was done right here in the desert southwest, New Mexico and northern Mexico. But the interest really took off in Alaska.
For years, I mean, really, it took so long to catch on, because I'm sitting there with roadie buddies and all this stuff, and they're like, yeah, fat bikes, haha. The big thing was, yeah, fat people need bikes too. And I was like, whoa, man, you know, it's comfort, it's this. They're like, yeah, but the rotation, the mass. So it's really hard to get all these guys on. Even you have the lightest carbon rims and all this stuff, you still have this mass weight, and then you add it to snow, and it's just slow.
I saw one rolling around, and the guy was rolling particularly slow, and he had it loaded down, and I was thinking, wow, it doesn't look like much fun to me. And then I got the chance to try one, and I said, wow, this is so much better than I ever thought. This blue bike over here,
Yeah.
that is, that's the Icicle that Steve Baker built. Dave Ford approached him on that and said it looks like snow for the race, and Steve had 4 days to finish that bike and pulled it off. He's an amazing craftsman. The really interesting thing about that is if folks look at the handlebars and they see those balls on the end, and they're like, what the heck are those for? Well, Roger was a unicyclist, and when you spend all day on the bike, day and night, for weeks at a time, your back is going to just kill you. So he was able to steer the bike sitting up in a very relaxed back position.
The Denali Alaskan was designed by my hockey coach in Fairbanks, Tom Ritchie. The thing was he was so, you know, he's such a fitness person, wants everybody to be comfortable and not injury or whatnot. He's shown so many problems with lower back issues, because our bicycles back in the 80s or whatnot are basically just, you're leaning over, you know, you're always, it's like a road bike, your back's hurting and taking all the effort. So you could see this bicycle, it's even sitting there, the whole geometry is a big, huge head tube, you know, upright geometry, and it was so comfortable. I mean, your handlebars are above your seat. So this is like these wheels are made in 1999, and they're a 29er Snowcat, and Simon made them for Gary Fisher's new 29er bike, which is going to be the new thing, and it definitely was for forever. And so I ride this around on my fat bike now every summer with a 3.0 tire, and everybody's like, oh man, you're modern, you're fat, you know, you got new plus, you know, the new thing. And I was, you know, just show them this is what we had for years. This is the original plus bike before we had fat. This is like the original design that everybody was doing. There was no tires back when, so you could see this is just a regular wheel, and this is even like an old BMX hub. You couldn't even really, you know, find a fork. We had to modify forks from like crowns off downhill forks, and then put different legs on them just to get them to fit in. So basically you got over 3.5 inch wide here, but they're 2 tires on a rim that we welded together because there was no tire available. So, you know, it worked. It was different. It really felt weird, and you get flats a lot. So that was pretty much more of a problem than anything. And we had 2, you know, tubes in there, so it was, you know, a work in progress. The big thing that changed all of this was when Specialized had a failed run of tires. This came out, and even Ray was like, you know, that's the tire, you know. But the Specialized big hit, it says a 3.0, but it's a 3.6. It's huge, it's beautiful. John Evenson bought a bunch of them for his bikes that he was making, him and Grunwald. Had 135, Dave Gray was at the first race. And John had his first bike with Ray's wheels, with the, you know, big hit tires and everything. And Dave Gray is, you know, had a Surly. So he's like, this is fantastic. Can I take pictures? I'd really like to design this. So basically, that first Arrowhead is how he came up with the Surly design. Smart all the way through. The offset is what everybody was working up here just to deal with the hub problem.
The bikes have evolved probably faster than any other bike in modern history. You know, when we moved into carbon rims, and particularly for us here in Alaska, when they came out, when 45 North came out with studded tires, that changed things dramatically. You know, we were all riding the same 2 tires that were available for years and sort of tiptoeing around on the ice. But once those tires came out, they were so good right from the start that there was no disadvantage to them other than the price. They weren't heavy, they rolled really fast, and they did everything well. This is first generation Fatback titanium. It's running a 3x9 drivetrain, and it fit. I had 120 millimeters of tire clearance, but the only tires we had at that time were the 3.8 endomorph.
I was lucky enough to be in Fairbanks, where not only developing the Snowcat rims, Dick Flaherty at Apocalypse Design was designing frame bags originally, you know, before Eric Parsons. This is OG frame bags, OG pogies, all this stuff that, you know, brought about everything that we come today called bike packing.
So I started making bags like specifically for fat bikes at the time and for winter specific riding. Like that's what gave birth to the company and like making bags. I was making gear specifically for carrying stuff on winter events and winter racing. So downstairs one day and I decided to time trial myself to make a frame bag for my friend, and after that I was like, okay, I could probably like make some money if I tried doing this. I started making bags. I bought an industrial sewing machine, and I put an ad on MTBR's classifieds, you know, for like $2, and kind of got flooded with like requests for frame bags for all these, you know, for bikes, because like I said, like Pugsley had just released, and so fat bikes became available, and so both in Alaska and in the Midwest, all of a sudden like everybody wanted something better gear-wise. This is something we just developed. It's like a really lightweight handlebar system, but a high volume dry bag to fit like a -20 sleeping bag. And so we have this huge dry bag made for
Well, that's like
winter.
the Susitna 100
That's
pack
this is
right
it.
there.
Yeah, and this is the Susitna 100 pack.
As Alaskans continue the tradition of fat biking innovation, it's clear that the sport is not going anywhere, with its popularity in the state at an all-time high.
For here, it's like I just see them getting faster and faster. I feel like they're just going to keep turning more into mountain bikes than, you know, the original slow cargo hauling, dreary, you know, thing.
I would say Greg Mattis is like, people follow his lead. I mean, you know, so it was, originally it was Surly, and they went with the offset design, and it was Greg that went with the 170, or the asymmetrical, so basically he just widened out the whole rear end. That just made everything ride better and steer better, and then he went to 190 to make everything a little bit wider and accept a wider wheel. I don't really see any other companies making, you know, it's like, ask Greg, he'll probably tell you what's next.
It's hard to say where we're going to head from here, because product is, it's pretty refined. It's not to say that we can't make improvements, but just like the rest of the industry, you know, we'll go to a trade show and people will ask, you know, hey, what was the coolest thing you saw there? And I said, you know, everything was nice. You know, you're only able to make small improvements now. You know, maybe the next big improvement is graphene or something like that, where totally different frame material and tire material and production.
So I personally fell in love with fat bikes probably, almost 6 years ago. I bought one from 907 and started riding because I just wanted to ride in the winter. And I saw some people doing it, and I started doing it. I fell in love with it. When this school opened, I was talking with their principal, Tom, and they really wanted to do lifelong fitness. And I said, you should get a fat bike. And he's like, what are you talking about? So I got him into it, and then he got hooked. I said, seriously, if we're doing lifelong fitness, this is stuff people can do their whole life. So when they outfitted the school, there was cross-country skis, snowshoes, and then fat bikes, although it took 2 years of work to get the fat bikes to come online, and then we were finally able to secure them with studded tires for safety for the kids, and we got 15 of them. And we primarily use them in our outdoor recreation class, and then we also have a fat bike club that's open to our middle school students as well.
It's new for a lot of the kids here. They don't have exposure to it. The kids that have ridden love it.